Hello again, and welcome back to Marketing with Purpose. My name is Monica Pitts, and with me I have
Stacy Brockmeyer.
Now, Stacy and I have been remodeling things in this office, in our homes for like the last few years. And we are acutely aware now of what is not included in your remodel bid. We didn't know when we started remodeling. Did not know.
Nope.
And then it was like, what do you mean that costs more? And what really stinks is when you're dealing with physical structures, it can be thousands of dollars more that you didn't realize that you were going to have to pay. Luckily, with a website, it's not always thousands of dollars more. It could just be a few hours. But man, so what I want you to take away from this podcast is, well, what's not included in your design. So that way you don't have to have this feeling that Stacy and I have had on repeat for these past few years, which is what do you mean the vent covers aren't included? What do you mean that the price of putting the light switches in isn't included in the remodel price? To us, that was a given. We felt like that was supposed to be included, but that's the deal. We didn't remodel houses every day until, clearly these last few years, and you don't build websites every day. And so you don't know all the things that you are assuming are included that actually aren't. And so today, Stacy and I are going to dissect the things that we think you might think are included that some companies don't include, other companies do include, so that way you can go into these conversations with different developers with an educated perspective and ask good questions, so that way you're not stuck with a huge bill at the end that you did not expect. So let's get to business. You're on a mission, and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer, so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. So what's not included in your design? Now, before we go through this list of items that can be expectations that might not be reality, my first piece of advice to you is to get an itemized estimate and a detailed contract that outlines all of the things in words that this company is going to do for you. Mm-hmm. If they just give you an estimate that's like, I'm going to remodel the bathroom, I'm going to remodel the kitchen, and I'm going to add a screened-in porch, and it's going to cost you $150,000, and it doesn't tell you what they're doing in the bathroom, the kitchen, and the porch, and it doesn't tell you how much allowance you have for cabinets and countertops. Wait a second. We're talking about websites here. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Absolutely.
So if it doesn't tell you, it is not detailed enough. Do not feel bad about going back to these people and asking them for details. That's the only way that you can protect yourself in this situation.
If it doesn't tell you that you are going to be responsible for putting up the vent covers, who knew? I didn't know. I just thought they were going to be up.
By heavens. I know. That was an interesting one. Anyway, don't even get me started on the switch to turn the garbage disposal on. Don't even get me started on that one. Was I supposed to install that? Okay, I'm done. I really am. Okay.
We drew it on the wall. I don't understand.
Make sure that you ask them for an itemized estimate of all the things that are outlined in the contract. Make sure that everything that you talked about in those meetings with them is existing in the proposal. If it doesn't exist in the proposal, then it is not, you can't hold them accountable for it, right? Okay, so the first thing not to expect, unless it's in that proposal and unless you talked about it, is extra search engine optimization.
Most companies should build the structure of your website so that Google likes them. I say most because not all do. We take over a lot of websites a year and we're like, dang, why is that image, 3 gigs. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Images aren't 3 gigs, but they can be 3 megs or 30 megs, like, easily.
Yeah, which is slowing your website down, and Google doesn't like slow sites. But ultimately, so search engine optimization can be like optimizing the content on your page. And unless you ask them to do keyword research for you and integrate it into the copy of your pages, they're probably not going to do that for you. And also, unless you're paying them an ongoing fee, they're not going to do ongoing SEO services like link building and content building for you because you're not paying them. So if you don't see that in your contract, it's not going to happen. They may be building it on an awesome framework that is going to optimize better than your past website because Google likes new stuff that's built the right way. But you got to look for the other things in your contract. So Stacey, tell us about number 2. What's the second thing that you're going to have to pay for on top of your website design?
So hosting. So think about hosting. And I know, man, there are so many components to a website. Think about hosting like your apartment. It's the rent for where your website lives. And it is not included. It should be a monthly fee or an annual fee. At May Create, we just charge for it annually because it's so much easier to keep track of. But it should be a monthly fee or an annual fee. And it should have an SSL and likely software updates. So you're probably going to pay a little bit more than you would pay just for hosting because you need those extra services.
So 2.5. Number 2.5 of something that may not be included in your website design are continuing software updates. Because if you're building your website on a software like WordPress, which we love, they are so great because they release updates regularly to the plugins that you use and the core of WordPress. And that keeps your website safe from hackers and it keeps it loading faster and it makes it so that way in the future, if you want to update it, it won't break everything, right? And so you have to do these things incrementally with like weekly at least, right? And it's not included. Unless it says it in the contract, they're not going to be doing those updates for you as part of this website build.
Yeah, you're going to want to add a piece of functionality 2 years after your website was built, and you're going to be 37 versions behind. And when you go from version 1 to version 37, inevitably things are just going to fall apart. So super important.
It's not ready to do it. Okay, so the third one, and a lot of you probably already have a domain name, but this is an additional fee. We pay it to a domain registrar. So I don't get the money. I give it to another place. But we do manage a lot of our clients' domain names for them because they just forget about it. And they just ignore all the emails that go to them that tell them to renew it. And then their website gets hijacked by some pornographer someplace. It is crazy. These people are crazy. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, oh man. Anyway, sometimes it gets real bad. So when we take care of it, that doesn't happen. But that price of that domain name and renewing it and making sure that it stays up, that's not included in your web design.
And if you don't know what your domain name is, it's your URL. So for us, it's maycreate.com.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Stacey. Okay, so number 4.
Ongoing marketing.
Yeah, it's not like you could put a blog on the website, but they're not going to be... Just because you build it, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to come.
This is not the field of dreams.
No, you're not just going to have a flood of traffic coming in. So if they tell you that, they're lying. But to get that to happen, you have to have ongoing marketing, and it's probably not included in your web design unless it says so in the contract. Mm-hmm. Enough about that. So then let's talk a little bit more about updates. We talked about software updates. I think that was 2.5. But then there's like recurring updates on your website. So this is number 5, what's not included in your web design updates.
So if you need to add a new employee, if you need to change a service, if you need to add your pricing, if you need to add a page, those things are regular updates that are going to happen in your website on a regular basis, and they are not included in your contract.
I would also look and see in your contract how long you have to request small revisions to your site and receive support to learn how to use your site after the site has been launched, because there's probably a time window written into that contract. So then okay, for the next 45 days, I can ask as many questions as I want to and receive a lot of support. And then after that, if I'm asking a whole bunch of questions, you may be asked to pay a consulting fee to relearn how to use your website, which I guess that could be number 5.5, which is training, because not everybody includes training on how to use your website. So make sure it's also listed in your contract. Having a human being teach you how to use the special parts of your website. They might not train you on everything, because there's so many resources out there that'll tell you how to log into your WordPress site, right? But the special things that they built for you in that website, they should be showing you how to use those, but you can't just expect that. And also ask them, are they going to deliver it in step-by-step instructions, or are they delivering it in a video? And because you should just know, right? You should know.
Yep.
And if it's not in the contract, you won't. All right, so number 6, and this one brings us back to the actual building of the website. One of the things that's not often included in website proposals is
photography. So those images that you're going to have on your site, they might be actual original images of yours, or they might be stock photography too. So both of those things could be not included or included, depending on what you discussed and what's in your contract.
And stock photography does cost money if you're buying it from a big stock photo provider. It will cost you money. So just know that could be an additional fee that you might have to incur if it's not included in your design. And if you don't have professional photos and you want professional photos, don't just assume that your web designer is going to take them.
Yeah, we pay a couple thousand or a few $1,000s a year to have stock photography available for our clients.
Yeah, we do. And it's worth it.
It is so worth it.
I don't want to have to invoice everybody for every cotton picking photo. I mean, what a nightmare.
We used to do that. It was miserable.
That's stupid. Okay, so then number 7 is the words, like the content on your pages, and then the physical editing of the content. So it takes time to read through every single word that you're planning to put on the website and rethink it, reorganize it, reword it. A lot of clients just assume that we're going to go in and we're going to do that for them. And we do it for a lot of clients. Most of them, as a matter of fact, pay for this service, but they also know that they're getting this service because it's in the line item estimate and it's in the contract. So just make sure, if you are assuming that your web developer is going to read the stuff that you give them, well, first off, if they're a developer, they're totally not reading anything that you gave them, because they don't read at all. And I love you, May Create team. They will even tell you designers and developers are not readers. They don't read. They see words as shapes. That's it.
They totally do.
Look, that big paragraph is just a rectangle. It's all it is to them, I swear. So just make sure that if you need it, you ask for it and you see it in the estimate.
I think one thing to add on that is that your salesperson should ask you if you're providing content or if they're doing it for you. Mm-hmm. That should come up in your initial meeting, and they should ask you that question. And if they don't, the likelihood that they are going to do it is nil.
Yes. And if you're just going to pull the content from your old website, make sure that you read it first. Because, oh man, I can't tell you, when we rebuilt our site 7 years ago and I read all the content that was out on it, I was like, I thought it was really good because it was fun and punchy content, but I was like, we are not even these people anymore. What is going on here? And I thought, we can just copy and paste it. I fell victim to the same delusion that everyone else does, that the things on my website are said the way that I say them now because I wrote them personally 7 years ago.
Yep.
Not true. Okay, so number 8.
So still along the lines of content, but moving all of your content from your old website to your new website. Now, there should be putting the content in for the pages, unless you've talked about that there are certain pages that you're going to enter the content for to save money. But usually where we get into trouble with this is you have 7 years of blog posts that need to be moved over to your website. Well, that takes like 7 hours to do. So it takes a lot of time, and they're not just gifting you 7 hours if they're keeping track of their time. So it just needs to be moved over, and that is something that should be a line item in your estimate.
And if you have sections of your site that you know are put in like a blog post, right? Like a portfolio or a jobs section, staff, then I would talk to the company about how you can deliver that information to them in a way that they can auto-populate your website, because it can be done, but it has to be formatted the correct way in a spreadsheet and you have to have all the right stuff together to do it. And if you do it wrong the first way, like I just had a client deliver the other day, and I was so sad about this. They took all their information that needs to go in as publications on their website, and they just handed over 40 pages in a Google Doc.
Yeah, that's sad.
I was like, no. And I looked at it. Fortunately, they were very, very systematic about how they formatted it. And I thought to myself, you know that girl that works in my office, Stacy, the one who can make anything happen in a spreadsheet? I can see the pattern in the way this is broken down. So I know that she could take all this and make it pretty quickly go into a Google Sheet so it can be exported and uploaded into the website. But I have to call them and charge them for it, and it isn't part of their contract. But I think they think it's part of their contract. Mm-hmm. And yeah, anyway. So see, we even have these conversations, and sometimes it's hard.
And I don't even know if I can make it happen. I'm very nervous.
Oh, you can totally do it, dude. It ends in a number. It's got a period at the end.
I've got 2 crazy spreadsheet projects right now where I'm like, it'll be fine.
You got this.
Yeah, we got this.
Okay, so number 9 is programming upgrades. So when you plan your programming, you think about it and you think it's going to work one way. And then when you physically see it, you're like, oh, now I want it to do cartwheels.
So let's talk about what programming is, because it can be simple, and you think it's simple and it's not simple. Mm-hmm. Or it can be something that you think is complex and it's actually simple. So, I mean, small programming things are oh, you want a timeline on your history page. Yeah. While that seems simple, and it is simple, it's still an extra layer of programming. Mm-hmm. Or it could be that you are going to update this staff page 4 million times a year, and it needs to be built as posts instead of just having your staff in the page.
One page in a table, and then you have to reorganize the table every single time someone new comes in because you wanted to put them in alphabetical order. Yeah, that happens.
And it's programming. So all of those little things need to be discussed. And honestly, I'm going to say it again, your salesperson should be asking you questions to help determine what should be built as programming and what shouldn't. But they don't always do it. Mm-mm. And so it's on you, because you're signing the contract, to make sure that your website is built in a way that's easy for you to update, and that often includes programming.
Yeah, because I do think that, so when I started this number 9, programming upgrades, when you see the pages coming together as a client, you'll start thinking, oh, and it could do this and it could do that, because you can physically see it or you can physically touch it. And here's the deal. Your developer is also going to really have that moment too of, oh, it could do this, it could do that. But I can't say nobody, but some people don't dig in and really think about it like that before you start building it. And once it's in the building phase, some things might be able to be added on easily, but you might get charged extra for them because they do take extra time. And other things are not able to be added on easily. You can't move the kitchen from the front of the house to the back of the house once the plumbing's in. It's not going to work, right? Because you got to have water to have a faucet. If you didn't think about that beforehand, then it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I did not ask for that, by the way. I didn't expect them to move the kitchen from the front of the house to the back of the house. I'm not a moron. I did ask them to move the kitchen from the front of the house to the back of the house, but I also understood how much money that was going to cost.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't ask once they'd already plumbed everything in. That would be lame.
Yeah, super lame.
Super lame. Anyway, so just know that when you ask for additional functionality, you may be charged for it. And number 10, and this is sometimes the most painful one because I feel like it's a cross between people using antiquated systems and keeping things working everywhere else. Like, this can be such an interesting values conversation. So optimizing for every stinking browser on the face of the earth. So like Internet Explorer is dead.
Dead. R.I.P. Internet Explorer.
We threw a wake for Internet Explorer when it died. We were so happy we didn't have to build websites that actually worked on Internet Explorer anymore because it didn't make any sense. And we had to almost build a whole different website to get it to work on Internet Explorer because and we couldn't do things as progressively as we wanted to for the other browsers because Internet Explorer was so old and clunky. It was like holding us back. Yeah. So
if you expect your website to work seamlessly on Internet Explorer, you're probably going to have to pay extra for it.
Yeah. Or build like a separate website.
Yeah, you might have to have 2 websites. Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yes, and we do have to understand that even when your developer is building this amazing adaptive web design, that optimizing it to look perfect on every single screen for every single person is really tough, especially when you're talking about stuff like, well, there's, they call them an orphan. So there's one word on this line and I want it to be up with the next line of text because I don't want orphans. Well, like in print design, that's easy. But then in web design, when you go from a iPhone X to an iPhone 13, it's a slightly different size screen. Mm-hmm. And that squeeze can make it so it does pop to the next line. And so it should look functional. It should work and it should be a good user experience for people, but it can't be the same. It's not going to be the same for every single person because they are not on the same device. So I can't help it when people like my mom are zoomed in to 200% on their browser on everything they look at. I almost cried. I didn't know that my mother actually looked at websites like this every day, right? And then so I was building, like when I first started building websites, I went over to her house. I'm like so proud of myself. I pull up this website on my mom's computer, and that was like in 1998. And I was like, look at this amazing thing that I built, Mom. Isn't it beautiful? And then I looked at it on her screen and I was like, what is going on? This is terrible.
Happened.
These things are huge and they're just like, ooh, it's not right. And she's like, this is the way all websites look to me, Monica. Yours looks great. And I was like, oh my goodness, Mom. I have to zoom out. This is like killing me. Like my heart is breaking because I thought it was going to be the same everywhere. So it's not going to be the same everywhere. And if you're still using Internet Explorer, stop
the zooming. You know, though, I think we still have to deposit checks to the bank using Internet Explorer.
Poor Kara.
I think Kara has to use Internet Explorer to deposit checks.
Ugh.
And if she doesn't, thank God they updated it because it wasn't very long ago that you had to.
And we're not talking about Edge here, people. Edge still exists.
Yeah, that's Microsoft Edge is.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just look at these. Like, I'm just going to go through our list again so we can remind you. What not to expect: search engine optimization, hosting, monthly software updates, a domain name, marketing, like ongoing marketing services, updates after the initial contract has expired, professional photography or stock photos, like the words that go on the pages or the editing of the words that go on the pages. Also moving stuff from the old website to the new website. Like, if it's not in the proposal, it's probably not just going to happen. Number 9 is programming upgrades. All those little things that you find along the way that you think would be really nice. That's not probably part of it. And number 10, my last and fabulous rant, optimizing for every browser and every screen size on the face of the earth. It's
impossible.
I hate it. I almost said the word impossible, and then I was like, it's not efficient. It's not cost efficient, and it's not time efficient.
I can think of a better way to spend $1 million.
Yes, man. If it cost $1 million to do that
for every screen size and every browser ever,
and then imagine what would happen if you made one update to the page. You would have to go back and you would have to look at it on every single browser and every single screen size and make sure that it didn't screw anything else up.
That sounds horrible.
It really, really does. Yeah, I don't like that plan. Don't expect it. Okay, friends. So now hopefully you can go into those conversations with potential designers and developers and really review their contracts and their estimates and be aware. Like, you're going to now be more educated coming into this conversation, and hopefully you'll come out of it with less crossed communication and have better expectations of what you're going to get in the end of the project, so that you can have a great working relationship with your designer or developer, and you can have an amazing website, because that's what it's all about, right? So if you loved this podcast, or if you learned a thing or two, please give us a review. That helps us meet new people. If you feel like you want to hang out with us on repeat, you could subscribe. That'd be fun. Then we can hang out, every other week and talk more about websites and marketing. And but until then, I hope I see you again. Oh, wait, I'm not seeing. I hope I hang out with you again. And until next time, go forth and market with purpose.